morning.
Good morning.
Welcome back to another installment of
Installments.
Seek Ye First.
Seek ye
I think
first.
Seek Him First, yeah.
Seek him first. Good song,
Hmm.
good. All right.
I guess I'll take it away. Okay, so I was reading Job 6 and 7 this morning. Towards the beginning, obviously, this is the first round of complaint or conversation. But what I've taken away so far is just the questions that Job has towards God and just his complaints. You know, in his first segment, basically just saying how much he hates his life and he wants to die. And then in the second conversation, he's like, well, first he's like rebuking his friends because they're not giving him really good advice. They're basically just telling him that he's a sinner and like not helping him at all. And then he goes back to like God and kind of his bitterness towards God. So I want to focus on that because that's the most interesting to me. But yeah, and like towards the end he says, "What is mankind?" This is chapter 7, verse 17. It says, "What is mankind that you make so much of them, that you give them so much attention, that you examine them every morning and test them every moment? Will you never look away from me or let me alone even for an instant? If I have sinned, what have I done to you? You who see everything we do. Why have you made me your target? Have I become a burden to you? Why do you not pardon my offenses and forgive my sins? For I will soon lie down in the dust. You will search for me, and I will be no more." The verse 17 reminded me of like Psalms 8, which is like the kind of similar. Like, what is mankind that you're mindful of them?
Oh yeah.
But and that's like praising God. This is like the opposite. It's saying like, why do you look at me and test me?
So is he talking to God in this, or is he talking to his friends?
Right here, he's talking to God.
Okay.
And I guess because you know what he's saying reveals something about how he views God at this point. Or, I mean, Job's gonna learn a lot about who God is, you know, and this is one of his first, you know, questions. His bitterness towards God, and he's basically just saying, like, I wish you would just look away from me because you're just like testing my every thought, and like, can you just let me alone? You know, he's saying like God is like mean, and like he's just like targeting Job. I guess he's questioning why.
It reminds me of Psalm 139. That's like, search me, God, and know my
Oh,
heart.
yeah.
Test me, know my thoughts.
It's like we want God to know our heart. Too,
Yeah,
right?
but even when we do study that psalm and like that concept, I think we always talk about how it's the combination of like comforting that God knows all of our thoughts and like is good to test our minds and our hearts, but at the same time like fearful, obviously, because like,
yeah,
oh man, like he knows
everything,
every thought that I've had. So
yeah. And this is, yeah, that's interesting. And he's just asking, like, he's asking God to look away from him because he's, I don't know, he's like, why am I going through this? But it's a good question. Why is he going through this? And like, yeah, God has a purpose that he would know God in a special way and know him deeper. But he's like, why am I going through this? Why don't you just forgive my sins?
I think it's so interesting because that also reminds me of other Psalms. I think it's so interesting how he says, like, why will you ever look away from me? Because why would that be a good thing for God to look away? Like, I feel like in Psalms it's more like David feeling down because it feels like God has looked away from him and that's why he's suffering. Like
Yeah.
he's suffering because God has turned,
Yeah.
and he's asking God to like come back and like help him. Which we know either
okay.
way that like God was there all along and
This
God's
is,
the
like,
one in control.
Turn
But
away
it's just
from me.
interesting, yeah, how
The
when David
opposite.
was suffering, he was saying like, "You've turned, like come back."
Yeah.
Versus his view is like, he's seeing that God is the one in control of this, and God is the one. Like, isn't he recognizing that God is the one who like
Yeah. He
is like behind his suffering?
Yeah. I think he does believe that God is definitely behind his suffering.
Like, so that's
He's like,
interesting.
yeah. He's like, turn away from me. Which is interesting. Yeah, it's interesting.
As if God turning away from you would solve your problem. You know? I mean, I get what he's getting at, and I get like it makes sense
There's just too much
in
of a
what he's
burden.
talking about. But it's just, if you really think about it, like, we know that anything good that's happening is because of God. Well, not even that, only that, but like the fact that we're alive still is only God's mercy, because we should all be dead.
Yeah.
So it's like,
But he wishes he would just die.
true.
Kind of like Jonah.
So maybe that's why he's saying it like that. Like, he would rather, like, he recognizes the Lord's mercy, even that he gets to still be alive and like experience this kind of like feelings and emotions, but yet he's like, maybe he's saying he would rather just die.
Yeah.
So he's like saying like, just turn away from me so I die.
Yeah.
Like, you're the one who sustains life. Just give up on me.
Yeah.
I don't wanna
That's
go through
basically
this
what
anymore.
he's saying.
That would make sense.
I guess he doesn't see that God's gonna work.
It's like,
something
stop
good.
trying to take care of me. Like, stop like sustaining me any longer.
Because I'm like in suffering. Like, do you not care? Yeah. At least he was saying before, like at least if he was dead, he would be in peace. But now he's not. But yeah, it reminded me of people who actually. I mean, sometimes there's been times in your life maybe like you actually want to die. You know, not like actually die. I mean, maybe you do, but where you're like, just like maybe you're depressed or anxious or something. You're like, what's the point? Like, you just kind of want to give up. And you know, you could feel like Job, like you could feel like, why are you doing this? Like, there's nothing good. Like, I just want to give up. But I don't know. I feel like at the end of it, you do like rely on God more. Maybe. I mean, there is something to be learned from that.
I mean, we can, just like the Psalms, again, referring back to the Psalms, it is so good, and we know why the Spirit has put this kind of thing in the Bible, of like the reality, like the truthfulness, the honesty before the Lord, of just like, maybe this isn't his theology even that he's saying, but he's just expressing his feelings in that moment to the Lord.
That's the main
and we can
point.
really relate to that, and like find comfort in reading this in the Word of God. Like,
True.
people have felt like this, and God put it in there for us to have.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Like, that's when like you learn to find your real comfort in God, because you're not comfortable at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that is.
It's like, obviously nothing feels good in the moment. Like, discipline doesn't feel good in the moment. Not that it was discipline, but loving discipline in terms of like anything that we go through that's hard. The ability for God to teach us to have patience and endurance.
Yeah.
I mean, that is loving.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. And then it's good to reflect on that. His friends were doing the opposite. They were just saying like, correct what you've done wrong or something. But
Right.
when they're really supposed to just listen. Because it is like just human suffering. Like, you're supposed to just, be there for that person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a really good section, actually. Like, what is mankind that you make so much of them, that you would give them so much attention, that you examine every moment, or you examine them every morning and test them every moment. And then also, if I have sinned, what have I done to you? And, since you see everything that I do, I feel like that is just so sobering, because even though we know that this didn't happen necessarily because he was sinning, like that, it was proven by the Lord that wasn't the reason why. And so our suffering isn't because like it's our fault either necessarily, though that also is some of the cases. So I think it's right for Job to humbly come before the Lord and like express that, because even for us, like we want to have that relationship with God, that we I guess find comfort in knowing that he like examines our thoughts and is with us every moment, and he can help us to search our hearts, because we do want to know if we are sinning against him, and if we are pure before the Lord in terms of a certain sin, then, and we're being attacked still in whatever way, then we know we are like innocent before him in terms of that. And like, because he knows your heart, then I don't know how to express what I'm saying, but like you know that God knows your heart and that you weren't the one in the wrong, so you fear God over man and what other people think and are assuming. Either way, it is good to test your heart and to know that God has the ability to search and know every thought and motive too. Yeah, that's sobering.
It's cool. I guess. Even that he just knows it, because that's like he does care that much to examine them every morning.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, like, it is.
That's what we were talking about the other day, yesterday, about how like we're special, like man, like humankind is just special to God. But this is part of that. Like he wakes up, or when we wake up, he's looking at us, he's giving us attention all day, because we're his children. So it's cool. That's cool. How much he loves us.
How personal that is. I need to think about that more. That like, because it's awesome, and you need to have the fear of the Lord, of his like sovereignty, divinity, and everything big, but to also know the part of him that's so personal, like a loving father, like a friend, it's cool, an all-knowing, all-powerful friend. But he's a friend. He really loves us, and he knows he's with you all the time, every moment. He knows everything about you. All the bad things. All the good intentions and love for him as well. And he delights in, like, he loves you. Yeah. I don't know. That's cool. I really want to ponder that more. Yeah. And grow in that, yeah. Thank you, Lord.
That's good. All right, we can wrap it up there.
Okay. That's been good. All right. Till next time.
Good stuff. Hey, thank you.
Thank you. See you next time.